SFJ 4x4 Studios presents
in my oversized four-wheel drive Jeep.
A Jeep podcast starring industry experts.
Pure monosity. What? Say that again.
With mad scientist Scott Brown.
Use my drill press as a sort of lathe.
Our host, Neil Simpson.
If one light goes out, they all go out.
Filled with shenanigans.
We are really professional with Jeeps.
This is I Speak Jeep. SFJ 4x4
That's right.
Studios presents
In my oversized four-wheel drive Jeep.
a Jeep podcast starring industry experts.
Pure monosity. What? Say that again.
With mad scientist Scott Brown.
Use my drill press as a sort of lathe.
Our host, Neil Simpson.
If one light goes out, they all go out.
Filled with shenanigans.
We are really professional with Jeeps.
This is I Speak Jeep.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever, however you are joining us. This is the I Speak Jeep podcast presented by SFJ4x4.com. My name is Neil with Simpson Family Jeeps, SFJ 4x4, and I'm joined in Grandma's Couch Studio
by the maddest mad scientist, Scott.
Yes, sir. Jeff, the Italian Stallion, the producer, is not with us this morning. I found that out about, 5 minutes ago.
Welcome to our lives.
Apparently, you and he had a side conversation.
I was more impactful for him than me, I guess. I thought he was still going to. It was like, I need to reach out to Neil. I was like, well, then you should do that.
Yeah, well, here we are. So, and as fortunately in the comments, Bill McWilliams saying, yes, you're live, because quite frankly, I actually have, no idea whether or not we were live or what we were doing.
And we'll talk to each other ourselves anyway.
Yeah, that's fine. We were talking about building. So, yeah. Nathan, jumping back in the comments, guess who's back? Apologies for missing last week. I was wrapping up work on the Gladiator after tearing apart the front axle, replacing the seal. Now she's ready for our 5,000-mile trip next week. Got the RTT on and my custom water setup. Nevada, here we come. Man, that is awesome.
I guess we'll excuse him this time.
Yeah, one time.
But next time, you got to have a formal request in.
I was going to say, we need to have some acknowledgement, maybe a 2 weeks notice or so, right? Billy Joe, good morning. Bill, good morning. Glad you're back, Nate. Bill, yes, you're live. Jogga Jeepers, good morning. Jeannie, good morning. We're here. We hear you anyway. And then Keister Overlanding, what's up? So good morning to everyone. I'm sporting some sunglasses in studio this morning.
And you'll have to stay to the end to find out why.
Correct. Of course, they are, in fact, my wife's sunglasses.
Because we're past 40 and we just don't give a crap.
Yeah, right. I mean, I kind of look a little bit like Elton John, in my opinion.
Other than the rhinestones, I think they are very flattering.
Thank you. I can appreciate that. So, oh goodness, yes. And if you are interested to know about what went down this past weekend, you'll want to hang in there with us through the outro credits, and we'll do a little weekend update. With that said, today we're going to be discussing the cost of cool.
Yes,
and I think this is one that I'm particularly excited about. Mm-hmm. It's one that you and I have lived in a capacity
a couple times.
I'm not particularly cured from it.
No.
Right now, I'm going through a chapter in my life where I'm like, okay, now I don't know. I guess maybe we'll talk about it on air, right?
Absolutely.
We came up with this topic. What was your take on it?
Well, we were talking about what makes your Jeep cool,
mm-hmm.
and how do you make it cool, and then what are the gravity of living with some of your choices you have made to be cool.
100%.
So,
and I get asked with enough regularity about tons and 40s on your Jeep,
Absolutely.
right? And I think that is the one that probably is the most obvious, kind of one that our primary listening audience can relate to, right?
Absolutely.
Because we think about our Jeep community as a whole, and that little piece stands out to people. That and let me add to this, driving a 76 to 86 CJ.
That too.
That I think are the two kind of like little pinnacle aspects of Jeep coolness.
Well, and part of the problem is that when you're cool, you have to be innovative. You have to be pushing the envelope. You have to get people's attention. And if history teaches us anything, you go back in history of vehicles, the wow factor vehicles, are they actually easy to live with every day?
Correct.
And there's a reason why the bell curve of society just chooses not to go to the full extent, all in. Because I don't want to reveal too much. We'll say like big trucks, they go in, they can bedazzle everything. Everything's color matched, stretch and wide tires and all that kind of stuff. Well, now you have to, I don't know, haul cattle
Sure.
to a ranch 3+ hours away. How does that cool get you there?
Sure.
Are you happy with your cool once you've arrived?
And I think that there is maybe a little bit of a disconnect because people look in at the cool. And the other piece that I would say, I guess maybe third, if I was to rank my cool factors for the Jeep community, tons and 40s is probably numero uno by today's social
it's
standards.
becoming more ish mainstream.
It is more feasible than ever before. But
Yeah.
But that big rubber, Jeep has always been an aspect. The next piece is going to be owning, driving 76 to 86. And then third on mine is some type of flatty.
Yes.
And an experience owning, wheeling, driving a flatty.
And the actual experience of driving it versus what people perceive it as.
Absolutely.
You don't know what you don't know till you know it.
And so I think that, and obviously, I have been, pretty publicly vocal about my willingness to do things that the average bear, I don't even know. I lack the filter to understand that the average bear.
To deal with the suck.
To deal with the suck. I endure the suck better than the average bear. And I'm not even conscientious about it until people bring up certain aspects of it. As I have mentioned prior, in a podcast, this was many moons ago, I drove, when I first got my International, it did not have a radio in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's straight piped, and it has, a rubber work truck package flooring, so
Yes.
it's not insulated or anything like that.
And it's an International. It's just a more workish
Yeah,
truck.
Joe, when he chimes in, typically he'll message me about my International manure spreader, right? Because it's made by International, my combine of sorts. And I drove it to the Outer Banks, hauling 3 Jeeps with no radio because
We're excited to be there.
I was just excited to drive the truck, and it was a cool crew cab semi, and it was doing the work, and I liked listening to the exhaust and the engine hum, and it's only in retrospect that I recognize that other people would not think that was as. I had no air conditioning and I had no radio.
Yep.
Has little to no insulation.
Yep. I
Rowing gears on a manual.
was literally talking to a lady this weekend. She was picking up her Jeep, and she said, and her Jeep is ailing a little bit. She's having to think about reinvesting or letting the Jeep go into greener pastures. And she said, a lot of people don't understand. I have half doors. I'm a manual. It doesn't get good gas mileage. It doesn't, leap tall buildings.
Sure.
But it's my Jeep, and she drove a minivan up to get the vehicle.
Oh boy.
And she's like, it's quiet. You can hear the radio. There's no tire noise. There's no flapping of the top.
Yes.
Relatively comfortable. And she's like, I guess I'm just weird that I prefer the flapping, the noise, the hum, that kind of stuff. And I was like, no, that's fine. But that is a little bit of the suck that people, I think the JK kind of took some of that suck out of it.
Sure.
And so now we have a generational disconnect of owners, and partly of this is the coolness, like you're saying, the 76, 86, or even a TJ. People with a newer Jeep, they'll get a JL, that's their first experience, or even yet they'll get a Compass or a Renegade, and now they're part of the brand, and they're like, oh, it might be quaint to get an older Jeep.
Yes, it's nostalgic. It's romantic.
It's older, it's cheaper and that kind of stuff, and I can invest in it. And they have no idea about the flap, the hum, the rattle, the clang, the bang, the bad mileage, that kind of stuff that we all kind of take for granted.
Sure.
Of the ones in the know.
And, kind of expand upon that, I think that to be very direct, as humans, we're oftentimes in pursuit, either intentionally or accidentally in pursuit of comfort, right? And
yes, especially as we age.
Yeah, potentially. I think that there is, in a sense, I also think there's a cultural issue, and I don't know if it's just age, but it can be culturally, and I don't want to make it generational, but that culturally there is something sold to us that we, air quotes, deserve to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Right. And so, because it sells, in my opinion, right? So this is kind of a big spaghetti interconnected component here. But if we go back and we look at why the YJ was what the YJ is.
Yep.
It was intended to improve upon everything that iconic 76, 86 CJ lacked.
Yes.
It was wider, flatter springs, little lower, better power band, more reliability.
Better heater, better wipers.
Exactly, right?
Some had air conditioning.
Their intention was to broaden the market and attract a market demographic that previously was not buying Jeeps to the Jeep Wrangler platform. And
what did the hardcore Jeepers immediately say?
No,
I don't like it.
I don't like it. It's not a real Jeep.
Yeah.
And they went to, then the TJ, 100% rinse, wash, repeat, did the exact same thing.
I don't like coil springs.
And so, funny enough, you had brought up, said, well, people go back to the TJ and it's quaint or romantic or whatever. At one time, the TJ was the equivalent of the JLJT.
Absolutely.
It had all the bells and whistles. It had and entirely too many things that people felt were unnecessary.
And for some reason, Jeep stuff too, we're always like 20 years behind. Mind it, how your Jeep is equipped, or even the public's understanding of how the process works.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got the Jeep that would become Chuck Norris, in my head, all I ever heard was the heaters suck, the tops leak on you.
Sure. Well, right, because you came over from the Grand Cherokee world.
Correct. This is my first experience with a soft top vehicle. And all my dad had told me my entire life, which was he was growing up with flatties and early CJs and that kind of stuff, which all accurate statements for those.
Sure.
And I remember literally, going through a car wash and like, I'm not getting wet. And the heater's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And I remember, I did play around with top-down stuff. I didn't stay with it, but I did play around with it. I remember it was hot, sitting at a traffic light, baking in my black Jeep. And I'm like, I'm really hot. So I turned on the air conditioning with the top off and the doors off.
Yes.
And it cooled me down. I was like, this is okay. This is tolerable.
Yes.
This is not what my dad talked about. So in some regard, that was cushy.
That was. Yeah. It was. And by then the JK crowd, JK comes around and we start throwing out, it's a minivan. It's got it's got power doors. It's power locks. We had never had that before.
Yes.
Let alone the Uconnect stereo system was improving.
You can make a phone call over your Jeep.
Right. You know, the hardtop was a better design than ever before. So anyways, I think that we are sold this bill of sale societally that we deserve comfort, right? That that we are in this pursuit that somehow in our pursuit of betterment also equates to comfort. Now, without getting too far off the beaten path and getting into some American Hustle conversations when that podcast is up and running, I think that naturally a lot of people, good, bad, or otherwise, do pursue comfort over cool factor.
And I would say the JK and the JL, it's made it a bigger divide between the cool factor and the norm, because the Jeeps are just so good out of the box.
Yes.
So you have a kind of almost a poser feeling for some in the demographic that, oh, they're in a jail, they're a poser because they're just so cush.
Correct.
Their steering wheel's warm. How dare they?
Oh man, I love that heated steering wheel. God, it's my favorite. And so ultimately, I think that if we talk about the tons and 40s conversation, that and Jog Jeeper says tons and 40s are cool if you use them. I think there's a vast majority of people who just like the pictures. They like the look of it, as well. And with that said, I think that has a little bit of bearing from back in the day when it was really hard to put 35s and 37s on a vehicle.
I was literally just thinking, like back in the day when you had tons and 40s or even over 35s.
Correct.
You were a fabricator. You were a craftsman. You had major destiny in your garage. And now we're to a point where you can set a credit card on fire, order the axles, they bolt in, order the lift kit, relatively bolts in, fenders, all that. The world is your oyster, and you can have a tons and 40s or more and relatively daily drive it. Where back in the day, I remember, you would have 35s were boggers.
Sure.
And that was a trail rig.
Right.
You didn't go to the corner store.
Right.
Let alone to be like, oh, I'm going to drive that to work, or I'm going to drive it 3+ hours away. Where now 35s is just not even a blip on the radar.
No, 35s is a standard. 37s arguably are a standard size.
I would say if they're not, they're just about there.
Sure.
And 40s and the tons are becoming more obtainable.
But I think
with that said, you're still giving up.
I was going to say, I think that the challenge is it looks more attainable.
Yeah.
And therefore people maybe inappropriately get kind of conjure up the wrong impression about that, because while you can boot up the computer and you can order your 40s, you can order a bolt-in axle, you can order a air quotes bolt-in lift kit, that doesn't mean that you can make it work well.
And because of the length of modification that was required to do that, is you're just touching more products. Are you getting the right recipe?
Correct.
So then you have the cost of being cool can be even more costly in that situation. That's literally one of the things we do. We're basically good chefs, and we have a good recipe that works well with each other and works well with the intended use of the vehicle. And we can kind of take the sting of the cool away a little bit on how we set up Jeeps here in-house.
Sure.
But at the same time, if you get so far, you just have to deal with some of the choices you've made.
I agree entirely, because that's, we have, so we have these kind of, I guess for me, it's twofold. One is the average individual who's in the pursuit of cool, right? And then we have that individual once they are in the ownership of cool, right? Yeah. And so in the pursuit of cool, like you were saying, do all these parts and pieces play together? Am I actually going to be able to turn in a parking lot, or are the tires going to rub in the fender wells? Are they going to, as I enter a bank up an apron, into the drive-through, am I going to hit the control arms and so on and so forth? That's one aspect of actual usability or functionality of having the vehicle. Anything can look cool sitting stationary in a picture.
Static.
And we as a society, I think, are easily fooled by that. I mean, granted, we love looking at pictures. I mean,
Absolutely.
Instagram is just full of pictures. Reels and other shorts are just a 7-second. Anything is cool for 7 seconds.
Yes.
Right? So then when we actually have customers who like tons and turbos, he daily drives a tonned out 40, 39. He has 2 sets of tires.
Yep.
Because he goes through tires so frequently, because the bigger the tire, the more propensity for wear that just exists.
And he has aggressive tires for wheeling and less aggressive tires
for daily driving.
And they're 8 lug now. So he has tire carriers had to change. We had to do some R&D on stuff for simple things like a license plate bracket.
100%. And a lot of people don't think about the license plate bracket piece.
Yeah, absolutely.
And arguably, we want to be able to comfortably and confidently fit whatever size tire you're going up to. And that could even be a 37 or a 38 that's on a low center of gravity build. But we now have to fine tune the bump stops. You don't want to, constantly, have no up travel and the tire eat the fender flare. Now we need to have some degree of lift increase, but we don't want to decrease our low center of gravity or our steering geometry.
Yep.
And I think that, and the other piece with tons and turbos is, I mean, he buys a new set of tires every couple of years. And that is a expense.
Yeah.
But he does it because he loves the cool factor of having his Swiss Army knife Jeep.
Well, and the impact he makes when he shows up, because he literally uses it for work and that kind of stuff. And he shows up in this monster of a Jeep that is personalized exactly the way he wants it to be.
Right.
And immediately he has street cred.
Sure.
Because it's like, man, you got the stereo, you got the wheels and tires, you got the axles, you got the lift kit, and you do what with it? That's your only vehicle?
Right.
And I was literally thinking, like, every time we kind of become something cool becomes more mainstream, we have to, the outliers have to get further.
They become more and more fringe.
More and more out there. So now we literally have groups of stock-ish flat fenders that go out and wheel them, and then wear their flannel and they have an axe and Paul Bunyan.
I do love what they do,
and might come along, that kind of stuff, and they're really embracing the suck of the flat fender. If you're not getting whiplash and your spine isn't broken, are you really wheeling?
Right, with your rigid mount seat. And I have this picture of me wheeling the 48, and my daughter was young. It's on the social pages, and it's a really cool looking picture. And and she was like, she looked at that picture and she was like, and this is when she was younger, she's like, "Is that you, Daddy?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's me." She was like, "What happened? You were so cool." And I was like, that's so funny. Like, she saw me looking like a cool guy, you know what I mean? The jacket, the topless. I had no windshield because I wanted to endure the suck.
Yeah.
And I think that, we have, society is filled with these cowboy type characters, especially Western civilization.
Absolutely.
And we all want to live out that capacity. And I think what's interesting is the Jeep community as a whole, and sometimes we lose sight of this as a community, simply owning a Jeep is different.
You're fringe.
Is fringe.
Yes.
It is fringe. Simply owning a Jeep is slightly more fringe than owning a really highly practical Toyota Camry or Subaru something or other.
Yep.
Right? That's so funny because...
And you see that reflected on a lot of like Consumer Reports and that kind of stuff. They're always coming up in those lists.
Yeah.
Of like most maintenance or most this or worst gas mileage or that kind of stuff. And it's like the Consumer Reports people can't understand
why anybody would want to drive a Jeep.
Somebody drive one.
And that's exactly right. We're the fringe of the fringe, and we lose sight of it sometimes to be like, certainly when that individual who's driving their flatty with no windshield and wheeling it is like, well, it's JL owners. I gotta be honest. I mean, a JL owner still is just not they're giving up fuel economy.
Yes.
They're giving up the reliability of this, 300,000 mile Toyota.
I just had a brainwave. The cool of the cool is how integrated into the new normal are you? If all you ever do is go out and wheel in your flannel in your Willys flat fender, then you're now the new normal.
Mm-hmm.
And you are cool to someone out here.
Right.
But in your centric environment,
yes,
you may not actually be cool
anymore. Yeah.
Anymore. And now you have someone in the group that is the lead cool.
Yes. Because he's done something yet more fringe.
And you're following behind him.
Yes.
And you as a pack from someone off in left field in their JL is like, wow, he's really cool. But you actually aren't cool in your group.
Which if we get into specifically the flatties and whatnot, which is why 2 years ago at the Willys reunion,
yep,
the battle cry was drive them Jeeps.
Yes.
And that was because the cool kids were showing up, but they were trailering their Willys in to these national events. So they jumped into their F-150 with the nice leather interior, and they had a small trailer, and they trailered their flatty in, and it would park at the hotel, and then they would drive that flatty around their local wheeling hotspot, and they called themselves to task because they were like, who's actually cool enough to drive to the event as their Willys being their one and only primary driver.
Defense, it's always like a monsoon every time they do this.
Oh my gosh. And I've driven my flatty and in those said monsoons and whatnot. I've done all of that. I've hydroplaned it. The steering sucks in the rain. You're getting beat in the face with the water. It's not conducive, right?
It's not a good experience.
And I recently, yet again, I'm really trying to commit to this and make a good deal and let it go on its way. I'm really trying hard, folks. I'm trying to send my International to the next good owner, right? And
I inspired him.
You did. Scott inspired me. I've had the truck for 5 years.
We put the Frozen song on. We're letting everything go.
Let it go. And honestly, but think about it. I'm actually selling it so that I could get into a more posh, comfy vehicle. But that's in part because I want to be able to more comfortably get into my rig and run coast to coast and north to south. I want my destination to be what I appreciate and not exactly the enduring journey.
And this is always the grass is greener concept. Is you can literally, have somebody in a posh truck, comfortable, and he's looking at the guy in International that's sweating and he can't hear because the truck's drowning him to death, that kind of stuff. He's like, man, that's a real trucker right there.
That's right.
And the other guy in the International is looking like, man, I wish I had air conditioning right now and I could like roll down the window over there because somebody needed to say something.
Yes.
So it's all relative. It's always, you're always wanting to go where you're not.
Yes. And, I try to keep in perspective as something that I was exposed to years ago, and it was about the race industry. That was what stood out to me.
Absolutely. The guy in the $1 million race trailer that he's got his cold brew in his hand out of the fridge,
air conditioning in the trailer,
and that was a rough race season. Now what am I looking at?
Yeah, this sucked. I'm unhappy with this. The track wasn't good. That the third, right?
And then you got the guy with the rusted out square body with the used garden trailer that's sort of working for a car hauler with the truck. The wheel just fell off the race car and him and his buddies pushed it on.
Yep.
And they got like lukewarm drinks and they're all just destroyed. They all need cleaned up. And they're like, man, this was awesome.
This was the best day of my life. And, I try to keep that in mind, right? When we talk about the cost of cool, because those guys are looking in at that $1 million race team and be like, oh, they made it, right?
Yep.
Whereas that $1 million race team, he might not actually feel so warm and fuzzy about his, and he might have lost sight of how good it felt to once be that guy with the cob together race car running around the dirt track.
Absolutely. You know, and risk of kind of giving an idea of what the American hustle is. We were talking about this before the podcast. Is both of those people can have a good experience. They just have to look at the world with a half full cup, not a half empty cup.
Correct.
And those people can both be cool and both be happy where they're at in life.
Right.
They just have to accept
that this is part of their experience, a part of their moment. Whereas Tons and Turbos, come back to him.
Yep.
He accepts that the cost of his cool factor is he's going to have to buy tires with more regularity. His maintenance costs are going to be greater than the average bear who just has a stock vehicle driving point A to point B.
All the way from, hey, it takes more effort for me to get up in my vehicle, to, hey, now I need to upgrade my maintenance,
to I have my fuel cost. My fuel mileage is not what it would be if I was on stock tires. It's not bad. Our JLs, JTs have never been better with fuel economy and big tires. If you would have told 16-year-old Neil that I could travel from coast to coast on 37s and still get 15 to 18 miles per gallon, something like
absolutely,
I would have lost my nugget.
Yes.
Because I would be so amazed.
And that's a good example too, because just because the reason why 18 miles a gallon doesn't seem that great now is because people don't remember how to get 5 miles a gallon. They don't remember life with a 3-speed manual, all gear transfer case, just sucking all the power. And you're happy to break 9. And 10 was double digits. We're like, wow.
And what you're bringing up is that iconic 76 to 86
with the V8.
With the V8.
Yeah.
If you look at hashtag not a restoration, that's what you just described. We have a fire-breathing V8.
Sounds good.
With a 3-speed manual.
Yep. And
all gear driven. There's no chains anywhere.
No.
And it sounds good. It's got a rumble to it.
Yep.
But
double digits are good day.
If with a stiff wind at your back.
And that's with fuel injection, only 33s, trying to be mindful. Everything's been touched and restored.
But let's even just talk about AMC gasket technology.
Oh.
The cost of cool in this Jeep is the fact that you're never going to have the valve covers not weep.
A little bit.
And that's an all call to if there's a gasket manufacturer out there who wants to step up to the plate and satisfy our industry. But as just a dollars and cents, there's not, right? No. Time has marched on, and the volume of V8 AMC engines out there needing regasketed is minimal in comparison to the rest.
They all need regasketed.
Well, they all do.
But the requirement of being better is not there.
It's not. And this is the conversation of capitalism as a driving force. We will produce what people will sell. Yep. So the YJ was better than the CJ, the TJ was better than the YJ, the JK was better than the TJ, and the JL JT is way better than the JK.
Yep.
And ultimately that's because every time they redesign and they sell that vehicle, more people buy it, more people get into it. It's capitalism at its best because people are in pursuit of that product. Yep. The gasketing technology, they're just simply not going to put a bunch of R&D money and time and energy into making that product.
And that's a perfect example of you get a certain customer that gets an older vehicle because it's cool. Mm-hmm. And they have no idea about the valve cover conversation.
Sure.
And they just expect a magic gasket. And now my valve cover
gasketed.
Will never leak again. I have touched it once. Where I remember, even with small blocks and stuff like that, that was like a every year and a half, 2-year thing. Oh, my gasket's leaking again.
Yep.
I got to go do the valve covers again. Where now we're spoiled. We get 100,000, 150,000
Sure.
miles out of a 3.6 and the valve covers don't leak. And now we're all hung up over, well, I had a rocker arm fail. But how many miles did you go?
Sure.
You know, like
It's 100% relative because, I mean, my dad and I used to, when we started driving, and there's still plenty of guys and gals out there who are like, I'm trading my car in at 50,000.
Yeah.
Right? That's a mentality that's stuck when engines only lasted 100,000 miles.
But
if you were lucky.
you had an 81, 82 CJ, at 30K, the plastic valve cover cracked in half.
Yes.
And it started not just puking, like pouring oil out the side of the motor.
Right.
And you just accepted that. And now in that situation, the OE didn't even have an answer.
And I think
You had to go to the aftermarket to make an aluminum valve cover that just, if we're honest, leaked less. Wasn't leak free.
right.
And now we're over here, we accepted that as the normal. And now we're like, my 135,000 mile V6 needs motor work.
Yes.
We've got 100,000 miles more. And there's people that can push the envelope. They just don't know. And they will drive it till all four cams have problems. And that, you mean it's not supposed to make that noise? Nope. And they have been reliably daily driving this, expecting that 18 miles of the gallon, expecting the AC to work.
Sure.
All that kind of stuff. It is, again, it's all about perspective.
Yes. And I think that's, kind of funny because it is a challenge that I think we see with the vintage cool or wow factor is that individuals look in at that and they go, hey, when I was graduating high school, that's what the cool guys were driving. They were driving that late 70s Renegade, CJ7.
Yep.
And now that I'm in a position in life where I can afford that. And so you look in at it with a whole bunch of other factors not considered.
Yes.
But the internet has made it that I can look at Jeeps from coast to coast, right? And now they're very accessible. So now a Jeep is very accessible to me. And if I've made enough money, I can buy said vehicle, right?
Yep.
There's a whole bunch of other unintended factors like, can my spouse get in and out of the vehicle reliably?
Yep.
And will they want to travel with me?
Yes.
And to circle back to my own self-deprecating experience with my international, I like my family to go places. And I suppose I never really thought of how many times I was going to be running between the Carolinas and Florida, or most recently out to Las Vegas.
Don't know what you don't know till you know it.
100%. And while my son and I had a perfectly great kind of rugged American road trip experience to Las Vegas and back, I cannot in good conscience invite anybody else along on that on that ride. And
Yeah.
I am so fortunate, and it fits my personality type to have subjected us to that.
Yeah.
But most recently, when I was coming back from Charleston, my wife was like, I forgot how much I hate this. In fact, when we ran to Florida previously, her and our friend, I bought them noise canceling headphones so that they could just ride in the truck and stomach the trip.
And she knows what she's getting into, because when you were dating, she would hold the transfer case in gear with
her foot. 100%.
In the flat fender. So it isn't that she...
Oh, she held a blanket when we drove topless down to the Carolinas in a YJ. She held a blanket as a windjammer for us.
She's been there in the trenches.
She's been there in the trenches.
But as you get older, you just like things to be a little nicer.
Well, and if you're going to, and her, she would be like, well, it's different if it was 12, 14 hours in the truck. And
that is fair.
It's constantly rumbling in your ears. And I
agree with that. I remember, getting it. It's a little bit off topic, but my Gremlin with the AMC V8, we would drive that 4 hours to Columbus. And when you got there, you really couldn't hear.
Yeah.
Because of the drone of the V8 the whole time with the windows down and the wind beating you, you're literally like half deaf. You're like, what? And
I think, again, just calling a spade, that is why that Toyota Camry owner looks in at the Jeep owner who's topless.
Yes.
Because even if you are cruising around in your bone stock JL and you've hit the highway and you're running topless doorless, and I love topless doorless,
Absolutely.
highway speed, I'm looking at the road right
From
there.
the Camry owner, you're pretty cool.
You are pretty cool because they can't or wouldn't do that themselves.
Yeah.
And there's something inside us as certainly as Americans, United States cowboy derived pioneers, people who ancestrally got on a ship with kind of no understanding, and 4 months later showed up on some remote land, and they were going to break ground with their own two hands. There's something that we do still kind of appeal to that, right?
And here's a good question that led you. If you're ultimately cool, the person looking in at you thinking you're cool might wonder if what you're doing is illegal. What? The guy in that Camry or that lady in that Camry looking at you with no doors and no top
Yes.
on is looking at you going, that's pretty cool, but is that even legal?
Yeah. Are you allowed to be doing
Are you
that?
allowed to do? You are so cool. I have questions.
Yeah, and sometimes they superimpose that. I mean, think about the high lift jack on the front. They think that's a firearm. The doors are off. They're calling contention to that. There's a whole bunch of things because you're kind of outside the realm of the comfort, right?
Yeah.
Of that immediate comfort, and I guess a little bit of my own. I am cut from this cloth. I had this experience here in our hometown of Conneaut when I coming up through school. There was this folklore about these guys who, when they graduated, and interestingly enough, I end up befriending so these guys in the 60s or 70s graduate high school.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm coming up through school, I become friends with their kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when this guy graduated high school, he had a rigid tail Triumph with 2 or 3 other characters, and with arguably no planning or no knowledge, they just jumped on their rigid tail bikes, which for our listeners, if you don't know, that means there's no suspension, there's no springs,
You're breaking your back.
You're breaking your back. They jumped on the highway and they drove to California, basically on a whim.
Yeah.
And we grew up socially being aware of this story.
Those are the bad somethings.
Oh yeah, that dude was a bad mamma jamma, right? Yeah. And yet, this at his later in life, he was the most mild-tempered. He, pants were buttoned up nicely, had the polo button-up shirt, super soft-spoken.
And actually, that's a good lead into something I was just thinking about. I remember being a snob and driving my, hot rod 3-4 hours and seeing the guy pull in with his nice truck and his trailer, and it's enclosed, and he fires up his car and backs it out, and everything's pristine and clean, and everything's cool, and he's reflected, and I'm sweating, needs a sweat on the brow. I've got to figure out the fuel, car might have been making a noise, got to figure that out. And I looked at him as a poser.
Yes.
And if I'm honest now at this point, if I'm going to take my hot rod 4 hours with what I currently own, I'm going to put it on a trailer behind my Gladiator.
Yes.
I'm going to turn the AC on. I'm going to drive down there. Then park the rig. I'm going to jump in the thing. So I'm going to have full fuel.
Yep.
Oil will be good. It's going to be in good accord. I'll drive around and enjoy it.
Enjoy the car in that moment where I'm at the car meet or whatever.
And then when I'm tired, I'm going to put it back on the trailer. I'm getting air conditioned, comfortable, heated steering wheel, and drive home.
Right.
So it's all about perspective. And before you throw stones, think about where you're going to be.
Yeah, casting those stones in glass houses, know. And there's something to be said about both experiences, right? And the one experience allows you to appreciate the next.
You're earning the stripes. You've done you've been the undergrad or the freshman. You've put in the effort, the time. Well, now the suck is, you get a little less suck because you've done this. Right. Done your duty.
Right. And I think that for me, I have never Now, obviously, most people know I'm a frustrated trucker at heart, so I enjoy the towing experience as much as I do the wheeling or the vehicle.
And we, both of us, do above average towing compared to some people.
Sure. and with that said, I have always, from the very beginning, I was not deterred by that mentality of, well, you have to drive it to the trailhead and then wheel it and drive it home. I found it as kind of more of an opportunity. I could resurrect something half beaten, broken from the 40s through the 60s. And I could go wheel it on the trails when other people are like, well, I've got to drive it here. And I didn't have to do that. So the cool factor is it changes.
Yeah.
Right. And for whatever that is, you then take that guy or gal who has a really well-built TJ and they're looking in at me wheeling some piece of vintage, half put together piece of vintage iron. We're like, oh, that's really cool that they're doing that.
Where you're looking at him like he drove it here, he's going to drive it home. That's
correct.
Cool.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. And
really what it comes down to is you should be well-rounded cool. You should experience all of it.
Sure.
So you have a good, well-rounded experience. Tow it there one time in your life, drive it there another time in your life.
I think the only thing that we need to discuss in these remaining few minutes about this is when we see the cool factor and maybe we're a little disconnected from the realities of our decisions. And I guess to bring up something that you started with a conversation a little bit ago, if I have this tow rig with the lights and the stanced and stretched tires and so on and so forth, well, I'm going to relate that to the Jeep community.
Yeah.
Because one of the challenges I see is the rotor lights, the wheel lights,
yes,
and rock lights specifically. Mm-hmm. And I think, those things look cool. And I recently said to Greg, because he was less enthusiastic about the wheel lights, and I said, the challenge is I actually think they look really cool. I like wheel lights, but they're not practical within our community
and climate. Yes.
And that's rock lights and wheel lights.
Yep.
100%. And the thing is that rock lights specifically got their start in the Southwest,
yep,
not in the Rust Belt.
Correct.
And they're functionally using this light to night wheel so that you can see an obstacle appropriately illuminated so that you can pick your line.
Yep.
So we took the catalyst of like hardcore rock crawlers.
Yep.
And they needed a technology, and we added lights under there. And the problem is that an individual who wants to use their Jeep in a 365-day capacity,
yep,
and you're using rock lights up under your vehicle or wheel lights, that no longer makes sense, because in the Rust Belt or the constant subjection to schmutz,
yes,
in the environment, renders the shelf life or the duty life of those components basically seasonal.
Yeah. And with all that said, it's okay if you go into it knowing you have to change your tires every 2 years. When it's a problem when you buy the rock light, you think it's a forever purchase.
Correct.
I'm never going to have to touch this again. Well, that's just not fact.
I spent a lot of money on this. I know you did, but we can't help the fact that when they brine the roads,
yep,
everything is subjected to that.
Yep. And you got 2 years out of it versus 6 months out of the cheapie set. They still have a lifespan.
And the challenge is the cognitive disconnect when we take a multi-billion-dollar company like Stellantis,
yep,
and the millions of dollars that they put into research and development that is decades in response to federal regulations.
Yep.
If we were to go back in our Wayback Time Machine 80 years, the federal government wasn't heavily involved in automotive.
Give a fig.
And people died in vehicles constantly because auto manufacturers, first of all, you could just start an auto manufacturing business tomorrow. It could be Brown and Simpson, cars.
Yes.
and we could build 7 cars and call ourselves an auto manufacturer.
Yep.
And if all 7 of them burnt down or killed our the purchaser, the owner of that vehicle within the first month, meh, so what? We moved on.
Yes.
That's what the auto industry was, the Wild West.
Yep.
Now that's not the case, right? The auto manufacturing industry is a mega monster that is decades in response to federal regulatory expectations and consumer market and capitalism refining that processes.
Yep.
So the rock lights that you bought on Amazon for $50 are simply not going to hold up to the $50,000 Jeep that you're driving.
Absolutely. And you need any more effort to believe that. Just go back and look at warranty lengths on an 80s vehicle versus what they are now.
Sure.
I mean, 3 months, 36,000 miles was a good warranty
That was one of the best warranties.
back then.
That was, all too often, that's where you got the taillight warrant, the concept of the taillight warranty.
Absolutely.
And now, and third-party warranty companies aside, and that's just a crock of crap as far as I'm concerned. But now there's a lot of businesses that are reputably willing to stand behind their product and workmanship. One, it creates consumer confidence, so we have to.
Yeah.
That's capitalism at its best.
Yep.
But 2, the products are refined enough to allow us to be in that position.
Perfect example is the 3.6. They had some problems in 12. And they're like, okay, we need buyer confidence. So 14, 15, 16s, we're going to give you a 100,000 mile drivetrain warranty.
Yes.
We're going to double down on the warranty so that you can be confident that you're not going to have issues.
Now, I think
And
that...
if you do, we'll take care of it.
Correct. Now, I think that Chrysler ultimately then creates that as an option because they saw where it benefited their customer base. But financially, they said, hey, we actually don't have to do this. People aren't taking us up on it. It's not. And so they did that. They regained their consumer market.
Yep.
And then
They pulled back. some.
and then they pulled back some. And that's a natural ebb and flow of free market, work.
Well, and I don't think people realize the power they have when they buy.
Sure.
They just don't realize that, well, if you don't like what they're doing, then just don't buy it.
Correct.
I mean, that they will not produce something that does not sell.
And that's a whole other. That's almost American Hustle
Absolutely.
podcast content there because of that. I love the power of buying. You know what I mean? And somehow we think we're almost entitled or required to purchase. And I think that's one of maybe the final points of the cost of cool. So many people are in pursuit of that comfort zone. They think that they have to buy. That's why leasing now is so
Absolutely
so prevalent. And there are challenges with driving an older model vehicle: constant maintenance, constant upkeep, part availability. And the Jeep community, once again, we're fortunate. Try owning a Hudson or a Studebaker. There's going to be far less manufacturers and a far higher cost of replacement parts.
Yep.
Within the Jeep community, our cost of cool is relative to our own experience as we've kind of shared throughout today's topic. So I definitely think this is a fun one and one that I think that is worth unpacking maybe further in a subset of this in the future. If you have thoughts about this, there was lots of comments in the thread today via the Facebooks and the YouTube. So hopefully you guys found something of impact there. If you have something you want to share with us, feel free to reach out and send us an email at contact CONTACT at sfj4x4.com. You can always text us directly 440-855-2100. And if you're interested in knowing why I've kind of got the Ray Charles sunglass conversation going on today, not for our listeners at home don't exactly know or see that, but we did mention it, or hearing about Scott's weekend experiences. A number of you, I do want to note that a number of you wished me happy birthday or a belated birthday in the comments, and I thank you very much for that. Yesterday, the 19th, was in fact my birthday. I had a great day. just
Putting
hanging
his
out.
flannel on and riding around with the windshield down.
That's right. That's,
Which is
that's actually kind of true in the process.
Yeah.
So, it's definitely a lot of good commentary in the comments. And Joe, I'll touch on his thing. So, where did you steal your sunglasses? These were absolutely my wife's sunglasses, which I'm just totally rocking for the best of things. And then Rob Morgan says LS swap the world. His cost of cool right now
is LS swapping.
is LS swapping via the Amazon. I can't
Yes.
wait to see how well this comes out.
He's
for
definitely
him.
getting better at gasket technology with that.
Yes. Until next time, Jeep on.
Jeep on.
Oh, I actually have to
Click things.
click things.
Nope.
Nope.
That one.
Nope, didn't do it. But I don't remember. I forgot I was in the producer chair
Yeah,
today.
you did. It's fine.
Pretend that we
Weekend
transitioned.
updates.
Sometimes the crap show I think benefits our listening
Yeah.
base. And
And, he's injured, so it's allowed.
I don't even remember. I don't even remember where I was supposed to go with.
It doesn't matter.
I forgot to click that part in
We're gonna move
preparation of
on.
today. Oh my gosh, that's too funny. So I without being too curt, I took a tree limb to the eyeball this weekend.
A tree decided to knock him down a peg or so.
Yeah, if it wasn't already going, just a banger for me. I don't know why I explicitly felt the need to grind myself into the dirt for my birthday this weekend,
That's
but
what you enjoy for some reason.
I do. The only thing I didn't get to do this weekend that I would have liked to would have been like a marathon session in the gym until I puked or till I couldn't feel my arms or legs or something. I don't know why I exist to enjoy or to find appreciation in the meat grinder, but I do. And so I made sure. Now, with that said, I also take a lot of solace in the fact that I was planting trees and I was
outside.
I was outside. I was grounded to the earth. I was in the dirt. I was that kind of stuff. Now, I also enjoy that I was destroying these prickly sumac things. Of course, they fought back, and that's one of the wily branches that took me out in my very expensive eyes, as my wife likes to remind me.
I was literally thinking about that as you were telling me. Is like while I'm half blind, especially without my glasses, they have saved my bacon so many times.
Oh, it's so funny that you bring it up because, I really thought to myself that I have 100%. I had this like PTSD-esque experience where I recognized that in previous experiences, the glasses would have got mashed on my face.
Yes.
And
But the eye would have been okay.
But and the discomfort of the nose pads and the ear.
Absolutely.
And I would have been frustrated, and then the glasses knocked off, and I would have had this thought process like, oh, there's my expensive glasses getting damaged in X, Y, and Z. But my eye would not have taken the branch directly into the eye socket.
Correct.
Right?
I had so bad where the lens had gone up and like cut my face.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly my thought process. Now, I was in over the weekend doing some tires for an impromptu customer. And while I was wire wheeling their wheels because of, oxidation and corrosion, I, of course, have a lengthy supply of eye protection here at the shop.
Yep.
And oftentimes, I'm hollering about eye protection, ear protection for you and the guys, as well. And so I was wearing my appropriate PPE in the process of working here at the shop. But
just didn't realize you need it for a tree.
Yeah. And honestly, what it came down to was I had worked myself into the dirt all weekend, and this was the end of the day Sunday, and this is just such a classic human experience.
You're getting tired.
I'm getting tired, and I just needed to unload these branches from the trailer. I had, was clearing property from the front of my homestead to, and then hauling it back to the burn pile. And I went to toss it off the trailer. Well, I had equally not spent time cutting this branch down because I was muscling it. And you know how like the bulbous branches, all these kind of like, I had the trunk-esque portion down here. And so I tossed the trunk-esque portion. Well, it bounced off those other branches and it came back, and one of the twigs that was, kind of, protruding back towards
fighter
me,
right to the end.
Just came right back. And I watched it happen like fire in the sky, needling my eye, similar to the surgery that I had a couple of years ago. So definitely unfortunate. But I got to play with my cost of cool at my house, and I've got the tractors, like we've talked about our tractors in the past. And I'm totally going to live in this moment. And I oftentimes don't take a lot of time to step back and look at kind of where we're at and what we've done. But I looked at all my black and red toys, my tractors, my lawnmower, little go-kart thingies, or, little mini bike thingies. And even my push
good
mower.
Job of color
coordinating in a frugal manner. You know what I mean? And I was like, okay, that was fun.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So absolutely that. And then, been, divesting my other junk. Right. Yeah. And as I shared, those who are in our listening audience and in our social circles may or may not be fully conscientious that Scott made a huge move in his life for us as auto enthusiasts
and hoarders. Scott
had his childhood truck.
Yep.
Which, in hindsight, we can look at the cost of cool and be like, it didn't make a lot of sense.
Correct.
It for where we're at.
And for those that don't know, it was, how my parents met. My dad sold it to my mom. It was just supposed to be a flip back then.
She was literally just driving. This is back in the day when we just put vehicles out front of our house to sell them. And she drove by and saw the truck.
I could use that truck.
I might need that truck in life.
And, 4 years later, Here I was.
Here's little Scott Brown.
And I grew up with that truck around the property and playing in it, getting yelled at for being in the bed when I wasn't supposed to. And,
sure.
All that kind of fun stuff, and thinking it was super cool back then.
Yep.
To it, junior high becoming my first vehicle, and then realizing the cost of cool because I couldn't drive it to school. I couldn't use it. Wasn't allowed to haul anything with probably my parents, which I did anyway, but they just didn't know about it.
Your first vehicle ends up being an S10 in the process.
Driver is an S10.
Driver, right? You own this vehicle. Cost of cool continues into adulthood.
And then I have, black S10, red, full size.
Super cool.
Super cool. Take pictures of them together, all that kind of stuff.
But you never really get to use it. There comes a point in time in your adulthood where you do move apartments, and I remember you having
it as a truck.
Used it as a truck. You really kind of started to grow into that. You eventually do some really quality upgrades with the LS swap to it. Now it actually becomes more reasonable.
It drives and doesn't drink me out of house and home with that 8 miles of the gallon with the small block.
Right.
And it's reliable and that kind of stuff. And then life changes. You have 2 children. And we drove it to Bantam one year with the bassinet in between us, that kind of stuff. It's literally what we took on our first date. All these good memories. And right now it's sitting. I drove it one time last year.
Yep. It didn't make sense anymore for me.
I can't put my family of 4 in a regular cab pickup truck. So when we go out, what are we going to drive? Honestly, we're going to drive a Gladiator. And sadly, what's a half-ton pickup truck to the Gladiator? The Gladiator does every single truck thing I want it to do. It hauls a trailer. I can pack a motor in the bed. All my family's comfortable. If we want to take the top off, we can. There's just nothing bad I can say about the Gladiator. Gets way better mileage than even the V8 swap or the LS swapped C10. And I'm watching it slowly depreciate because it's sitting around.
Mm-hmm.
That's the worst thing you can do for a vehicle. And because the building project is a big scope, it's had to sit outside more than I like. So the paint that was sprayed in 1980, it's not the best anymore.
Not doing so hot.
It's not doing so hot. I don't want to invest $15,000-$20,000 into the paint job. I would rather.
And if you did invest $15,000-$20,000 into a paint job, you don't want to park it outside.
Right.
And, there's other priorities in life.
Yes. I had to have a come to the Jesus moment and be like, you know what I really enjoy in my life right now is the 36 and kind of being that old school hot rod enthusiast and building the T from nothing, learning how to stretch the metal, how to fix it, how to put it back together, how to make the structure of the car back. That's what I am impassioned about. So I don't see me getting to the truck. Mm-hmm. And rather than be that guy I hated as a young car person of, well, you got this vehicle, it's cool, I want it, I want to give it a better life, and you refuse to sell it. I'm not doing it. Mm-hmm. As much as my kids hate it and I kind of hate it a little bit, I'm going to find a better steward for that vehicle. If you love it enough, then let it go.
And this is literally comes back a little bit to the cost of cool. Your cool factor is now in these early Fords.
Yes.
That's your cool factor.
Yep.
And the cost of that is this truck that has a lot of emotional attention. And this Weekend Updates isn't exactly supposed to be for the continuation of the podcast topic, but I was inspired by you. So you've recently sold it. That's the quick takeaway.
Going to Texas.
And that's the quick takeaway. And so I've recently been inspired by you. So I've been divesting things that I have picked up over the years.
I mean, that's one of the best things about our friendship is we both try to assist things in positive methods. We look at our lives together and we're like, hey, what about this? Or hey, what about that? Because we think different. So it kind of gives us a better way to experience life in a full circle. And just because it's gone doesn't mean the memories are gone. And do these things bring you joy? What do you enjoy right now? And we want to enjoy and experience lots of things. And you can't do that keeping all the cards.
Correct.
We're not independently wealthy. We can't collect them all. We have to let things go to continue to experience that. And there's still cars I want to experience and enjoy and build professionally and not professionally. So because of that, you have to enjoy it while you are drawn to it and then move on.
For sure. So what did you do this weekend?
We actually went, and I always like to surprise him about this stuff. We went to a cacao ceremony. So cacao is natural chocolate.
Yes.
And it is...
I got to be honest with you. I thought you told me it was a cow ceremony at first. And I think that we're going to have listeners who are fine. Like, man.
That's fine too.
Okay. But cacao.
Cacao.
Okay.
So it is the old school chocolate, that the Aztecs and those
absolutely
used to drink. It is very bitter for those that don't know, but it is all the things hot chocolate is not.
Yes.
It is amazing how manufactured and refined and removed
our modern day hot chocolate is compared to
yes. So it was a very awesome experience. We got to learn, we got to experience it. Can't say enough good things. Again, I like to expand and learn and kind of do a deep dive. I knew a little bit about it.
Sure.
So long ago, I couldn't even remember exactly why, if it was in school or what.
Yes.
But it was really cool. And we got to go and do that. And we got to kind of just do it, me and my wife together. And then we had to go, it was in Erie. So then we had to go to Wegmans and try to find cacao because now she wants to experience it more and the kids have to try it. And something else I haven't told you is I have broken my wife. She is in her 6 weeks of Lego. I had decided we were going to do a Lego build off for the family.
Again.
For some reason, my wife was not allowed to do this as a child.
Right.
But she really, really is enjoying it. So at this point, our table is just covered in Legos. We've been rating our son's Lego hoard for pieces. I've been building little hot rods and trucks and stuff.
Yes.
And she's building little houses and stuff. It's a lot of fun. we'll see where it goes.
It's the simple pleasures, right?
Absolutely.
Especially in a little bit of a tumultuous world we live in. It's these simple things where we can recenter ourselves, and it's not costing a whole lot of anything. It's not harming
it's actually
anybody.
amazing how cheap it is. And what was really funny.
Wait a second. Don't say Legos and cheap. I guarantee
Well,
there's a whole bunch of people generationally within our
absolutely.
spectrum who will be like, yeah, that is not true.
Compared to car parts.
I don't agree. No, that's not true. Dollar for dollar, I think somebody out there needs to fact check us, but dollar for dollar, I think Legos are probably still more expensive.
Any which way, it was really funny. Thursday, there's a company that came to our mall. The mall is just dying, but
Sure.
this is a new store, and they resell Legos, and they literally have these giant bins. They dump the Legos into them, and you can paw through them and find the pieces you want. You fill up a bucket, and it's $20.
Sure.
So Thursday, we were there digging, me and her, looking for pieces. And when we arrived, there was an older guy, a little bit, like 10 years our senior or so. He's pawing through, filling his bucket. And Grandma and Papa come in while we're all digging. They got to be like 78 years
Okay.
old.
Pushing 80, right?
And the grandma brings out a list. We're looking for this blue arch in this thing. And they start digging. And I thought, this is kind of cool.
That is super cool.
And this is something I have to admit, first time I went in the store, the kids were excited. They were digging through that. I was like, oh, I remember that piece when I was a kid. I remember that. And there were some adults digging, and I was like, it's kind of weird. And I was full circle. I was like, well, whatever. So
That's so fun. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. All right. Well, I certainly appreciate sharing with you all the cost of cool. Billy Joe says she loves the big Lego builds. The bigger builds are definitely a challenge,
Yes.
and you are never too old for Legos. And it definitely lots of good conversation out there, and we definitely appreciate people being part of this morning's experience. Until next week, Jeep on.
Jeep on.
Oh, I have to end us again.